don't know why lobsters are a big thing right now, but I saw this photo on Reddit, and as the kids do say, I have a mighty need. This shirt was made from a tea towel and a tablecloth by Reddit user Big Lemon Shark using Tilly and the Buttons Nell pattern, which I don't own. And I don't know about you, but I don't think a tea towel is covering any of this. I possibly could just go out and buy the pattern, but that gets expensive after a while, so I'd like to try altering a pattern I already have. Do I have a pattern in mind? I do, and it brings up a thought I've seen floated about the internet. How similar are independently designed patterns? It's a notion I jotted down after going down one internet sewing rabbit hole or another, probably Reddit's craft snark. It sounds like something they'd talk about, and I figured we'd discuss it today while I put together this shirt. Some of you may remember the Gilbert shirt that I made last year. If you don't recognize this side, you might recognize the back. Holy shirt balls, that was almost exactly a year ago. It was last August, I do believe. Is this going to be an annual thing? To catch you up or fill you in if you're new here, it's a nice collared shirt from Helen's Closet that can be made with long or short sleeves, and you have a choice of waist ties or hip length hem. I spent about 2 weeks embroidering the heck out of the yoke, only to find that it didn't fit properly. Of course, this was before I realized you could make adjustments. Having made this shirt before, I know I chose the right base size for my shoulders. I just need some inches in front for my bust, my tummy, and my hips. Pretty much everything. Probably wouldn't hurt to have a bit more room in the back as well. Some folks would just try moving out the side seam. I've definitely tried that in the past. Some would do a full bust adjustment and then just grade or swing the side seam out from below the bust to the hip. Again, something I've done. In fact, my original tracing was graded out from the size 26 bust to the 30 hip. Apparently it didn't do the trick. I'd kind of like this to have a bit more room overall. Just tacking some extra width on can sometimes leave some extra fabric drooping sadly at your sides without giving any actual room. I did a little research, retraced my original pattern piece, and did a full bust adjustment. Then I did a full tummy adjustment. The information is from a couple of Cashmerette Club masterclasses, and I had a light bulb moment when the belly adjustment was described. It's the same way that Bianca of Closet Historian turns regular sleeves into poofy sleeves. It's a very similar process. Tilly's Nell pattern doesn't have a collar. It's a V-neck. I took a look through my other patterns and found one with a neckline I could copy. Then I made a new facing to match. I checked Threadloop to see if anyone had uploaded any project photos showing the back, and found one. Again, lobsters, it's a theme. The Nell uses a crescent-shaped neck facing in the back, which wasn't too difficult to eyeball. Because of the facing, I no longer needed the back yoke, so I overlapped the back and the yoke pattern pieces at the seam allowance and traced it out as one piece. I also did an adjustment back there to add a little extra room in the back. So with all that work done, I just need to get started on the actual shirt, which should be a lot easier to put together now that there isn't a collar to futz with. No need to do the burrito method of turning things out or any other sewing origami. All I really need to do is put the facings through the serger and tack them down. Awesome. Question is, do I have fabric? Do I have fabric? It has lobsters. I really don't know how I got lucky enough to find this stuff. The husbeast and I were invited out to dim sum with Ashley Main and her fiance. And afterwards, the guys let us go to Fabric Land, which was possibly a bad idea. Jury is still out on that. Either way, while we were sifting through all of the things in the clearance section, because spring is gone and now they're starting to get ready for back to school, I found this and immediately thought about the top from Big Lemon Shark and thought, well, you know what? I could make that. So I found this. Ashley found the nice solid to go with it. And yeah, I guess the rest is history. Let's cut everything out and get started. We're in the middle of August here on the Canadian prairies, and when it hasn't been raining, it's been hotter than Hades' left butt cheek. I don't know about you, but I'd love a cool new shirt for this weekend, and we can talk about how similar so many independent patterns are. Let's get started. While we're getting things underway, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed, you might want to check that right now. Possibly boop the like button while you're at it. An extra special thanks to my supporters on Patreon and channel memberships. It's because of you I'm able to do things like temporarily pivot into crustacean core. If folks could watch until the end, that would be fantastic. Maybe leave a comment letting me know what this whole lobster mania is. Is it because they're tasty? Is it because of a Disney franchise? Or, speaking of franchises, a renewed interest in seafood for landlocked North Americans? Have you ever hacked a pattern like this? Have you ever worn a pattern out? Inquiring minds want to know. So what do folks mean when they say all indie patterns look the same? Well, if you take a look at a lot of indie or small commercial pattern companies, you'll see a lot of similarities. A good core wardrobe has a button-down shirt, casual woven top, a couple of t-shirts, a couple of sundresses, dinner dresses, a jumpsuit and/or overalls, pants, jeans, and some skirts. There may be other fun offerings like shorts, vests, other aesthetic-driven blouses, dresses, and skirts, and things like sleeve or pocket extensions. I think it comes down to at least 3 factors: sewing education, convenience, and trends. My grandmother took a full course on home economics. I have proof of this. There's a photo floating around somewhere out there on the internet that actually shows her class. My mom apparently took home ec all through school. I had 1 or 2 years in elementary school where one semester was home ec and the other was shop. Sewing was jammed into a 3-month semester that also included a few cooking basics and novelties, like using a pressure cooker to make soup, which only became handy with the advent of the Instant Pot. Even having been a Girl Guide dropout, there was very little emphasis on dressmaking and fitting. You learned to sew enough little niche things to fulfill your requirements and get your badge, which, when it came to crafts and general homemaking skills, was fairly easy in my mother's household. I never said I was good at the cleaning aspect of homemaking. So learning how to read and modify, or in today's parlance, hack a pattern, wasn't very high on the list of priorities. I suspect it's even lower now. Mum was a serious sewist. She had a lot of trendy patterns, sure, but her bread and butter were basic staples. She had a packet of basic skirt patterns and a packet of basic blouses, and she used them until they wore out. Then she'd either work from her paper-traced copies or see if the original was still available at the fabric store, because some things never go out of style. Pencil skirt? Got it. A-line skirt? It's there. Circle skirt? Math. Need a mini skirt? Shorten the hemline on your basic pencil, A-line, or circle. Maxi skirt? Draw out the lines until it reached wherever you needed it. Ruffles? Math. Tiered skirts? Math again. She'd get new patterns when it was convenient, hence things like the iconic 80s jumpsuit with Brooke Shields on the pattern packet, or the odd raglan shirt with drop waist skirt patterns, or a bridesmaid's dress with very simple lines turned into a sweet eyelet dress suitable for an 8th grader's elementary school graduation. She'd find a simple pattern, dislike the neckline, and change it. Why buy a new pattern when all you have to do is draw 1 or 2 lines and change a facing? The kid wants princess seams? Draft out your darts. New patterns were for trendy new styles that actually required 3 days of thinking to hack from her basic shirt, pants, and skirt pattern stash. Even longer if you had to convince a reluctant 12-year-old to stand still long enough for a tissue fitting. Home sewing, while on the rise, still isn't as prevalent as it was during my mother's time. The last time I heard someone say, "I made a new house dress today," was probably back in 1988. Maybe even earlier than that. Chances are pretty good that if you tell someone your hobby's sewing, they're going to think you're into quilting or cross-stitch, because the amount of quilting and cross-stitch magazines far outweigh the 1 copy of Threads in the magazine rack at the grocery store. So without that education and expectation to modify your patterns, you're going to buy a pattern for every look you want to try. You're also going to want the most detailed instructions because we don't have a baseline education in sewing arts. And buying physical instruction books like my mother's 1972 Simplicity Revised Sewing Book or the Full Singer Sewing Book series is less convenient than opening a PDF. Hence, a lot of independent and small commercial companies offer some very similar looks. You might be drawn to Cashmerette's shaping for larger women's curves, or Closet Core's clean lines, or Helen's Closet's West Coast aesthetic and detailed instructions. Either way, you're still making a button-down shirt, or a relaxed casual shirt, pair of overalls, party dress, sundress, slacks, etc. They also know you aren't necessarily going to have the patience or experience to do a lot of modifications, so in many cases they do that for you. It's why you might see multiple blouse and top patterns, or multiple trouser styles. They understand the convenience of variety. When it comes to larger indies or small commercial patterns, a lot of the owners/designers seem really jazzed when they're tagged on something made from their pattern, whether it was kept intact and made to the pattern specifications or turned into something entirely different. Because all these simple patterns are just templates. Everything works on a basic system, and the variety is there so you can find the system that works for you. Which is why I can take the Helen's Closet Gilbert top and turn it into Tilly and the Buttons Nell blouse. I know just enough about using and modifying patterns to be dangerous. Now, this doesn't explain all the other small indies making the same cottagecore poofy peasant blouse, or their take on the 18th century petticoat, pirate shirt, or stays for the Ren Fair. That, my friends, is due to trends. Why buy a fast fashion peasant top when you can make your own? I mean, finding one that lets you build in bra stays so that it stays put and doesn't show off your straps is a challenge, because they all want the sleeve poof to start right at the neckline, but that perfect peasant top is out there. Maybe they didn't like the way another popular garment was made, so they made their own. Maybe they didn't see it in their size range, so they fixed that problem. Maybe it just sells really well. Either way, it gives you, the consumer, more choice. And choice is good. Let's see how this shirt came out, shall we? And we're done. I looked like the cutest nursing assistant or veterinary technician this side of the Rockies, at least the foothills area. I don't know where I read it, probably on Craft Snark, but someone once mentioned that any and every V-neck top looks like a nursing assistant or veterinary technician's top, and now you can't unsee it too. I'm so sorry. It's still cute, and I may make more. Maybe in a nice floral. Bougie vet tech. I knew I'd nailed it when I put it on and the husbands started singing the SpongeBob SquarePants theme. I still don't get the obsession folks currently have with crustaceans, but that's fine. I'm okay with it. It's roomy. The buttons lie flat, it's light and cool, and the seashells remind me weirdly of my grandmother's bathroom. A couple of fit issues that may transfer back into the pattern. The neckline gapes just a little bit, and I can fix that in the next shirt by pinching out about 1/4 inch at the neckline. Not on the fabric, just in the pattern. I may have also overcompensated for my bust, so backing off the dart another inch or two might give it the basic shape I need while still allowing it to be nice and roomy, because it is nice and roomy. It's very comfortable. How many more times can I say roomy? I may add just a touch of length and remind myself again that when you lengthen a pattern, you also have to lengthen the things that attach to it, because I forgot to add some length to the facing and had to sew a couple of extensions on. Not a big deal since they're not going to be seen by anyone, but it is something to remember for next time. I realized partway through, by comparing my original projector traced pieces to a more recent printed and taped version of the pattern, that I'd made the original top about a size larger than it needed to be. And I can see that in the shoulders. They're just the tiniest bit longer in the shoulder than necessary. Should be up here. I'm going with it for this top because I like it, but if and when I make the Gilbert top with collar and long sleeves again, which will probably happen, let's be honest, I'll probably just do the same adjustments to the newer, slightly smaller pattern that I'd printed and taped. Or, because as we've been discussing, there are other shirts that are similar. I could try out Cashmerette Club's Haskell and modify the sleeves to be a bit more Helen's Closet 70s bell sleeve. Whatever works best, right? At this point, I think I know the Gilbert well enough to believe I could make a fantastic autumn top with bell sleeves. Maybe pair it with a sweater vest and blue jeans, or A-line skirt for that full 1970s aesthetic. Or if I wanted a more 90s whimsigoth look, the Cashmerette Club's Hartwell vest. Could be fun, and that's fantastic. It means I'm able to expand my looks and styles without having to buy yet another pattern. I can just tweak the one I have that fits well and looks good. I guess I learned a few things from Mum. She'd probably be pretty pleased. I'm currently down to one studio light in here. I do have 2 more upstairs that need to come down, but the reason why I'm down to one studio light down here is because cats. You might have noticed the cats are not here right now, and that's because they are out in the sunroom, because they've lost their sewing room privileges for the moment. Basically, they started running around, and the stands for the lights are just so rickety that one bump and they go over. They've already killed one light. Cream-colored cat keeps wanting to go after the light that's over there, basically thinking that she can stretch on it. So she's tried to pull it down about 3 times now. And I really don't want them going after the new soft boxes because they're what make this whole area look so pretty and lit up properly. And they're not cheap. So it's not that I'm denying you cats. I'm saving my equipment. There will be more catness, I'm sure. I am positive that if I let them in while I'm sewing, they'll hopefully steer clear of the lights and just roam around and, of course, try to get onto the ironing board, which is an entirely new kettle of fish. Can of worms. Either way, it's something that I try to discourage. Cats.